the first practice was doing well. After about a year, my really good friend Jess came and joined the practice. And she left, a lot of opportunities to come work there and in good faith. And she became our head of operations later in the business. But there was this thing of, okay, she's coming in. When she came in, I realized, there's just a lot of business stuff I needed to do. I was winding back. We opened a clinic in the city. My other friend joined there. And then we had a third practice was in Inglewood, Mount Lawley. And I think that moment, I really wanted, one of my closest friends at uni was a guy named Matt. And I remember thinking, I really want Matt to come in, but we can't really afford him to come in and he's doing really well at his job. So the only way would be like a business partnership. And so I just thought, okay, well, what's the pitch? Well, the pitch is he doesn't know how to run a business at the time because he'd been working as a physio. And I knew heaps about business because I've been running one for 7 months or 8 months.
So did you have a handbook for it?
Yes. And yeah, I mean, geez. So, and I just asked him like, hey, we could just be business partners. Like I'll do the businessy stuff. You just handle leadership, taking care of the patients. And then we could work together. And that's your business. You take care of it. Like, cause he had like, I remember, and this is classic 22, 23-year-olds, but this is all in the first year, like toward the, and he was like, I've got this Europe trip, like planned, like 12 weeks, priorities, right? At 22. And I'm like, mate, go on the trip. It's fine. We'll work it out. Like, it's like, but that's like the starting 12 weeks. And I'm like, we'll work it out. But it became this sort of, he did that, still did his trip. But I think that moment of me framing it probably wasn't as articulate as I just said it, but really delineating between I would take care of the business stuff and he would take care of the local team and the patients with kind of the inception of, I'm not just a physio. I've got this obligation to Matt, my really good mate, to be a good business partner, and I think that was the seedlings of, okay, maybe I'm efficiency. My time's better used. Like I could have a higher physio impact at scale if I do that for more mats. I guess that was sort of but at the time, to be honest, I didn't have that level of foresight. It was really just, I want to keep my friends together.
Yeah, which is cool. I love that about your story, especially because you've been able to bring, your mates with you as well. So look, we're not going to be able to go through every acquisition you've ever made in business, right? So we're going to I got to find a way to put a bow around it a bit. So if that's the first kind of thing, and then can we fast forward? And I want to then come back to some decisions you made and challenges you faced. But can we fast forward to like what it ended up as?
Yeah, in the end, and most people don't know what Life Ready was, or they just knew it as clinics, or they knew it as whatever, and that was fine. Like my personality, and one of my business principles is you should always operate under the radar. The limelight doesn't bring anything good, other than stroking your own ego. But I think, and it also allows you to operate with humility with your, and because I had friends that were running those practices. I was really fulfilled by seeing those things work out, seeing me play a role in my mates doing well. But I remember bringing in investors, and they challenged me. I remember flying around the country trying to meet with these big, impressive people. No one would even meet me in WA at the time, because at the time there was only private equity funding was really and fun. There was no venture capital market, which is sort of that trendy stuff we hear about today. There was only private equity. And the concept of family offices, well, frankly, I didn't know about back then. And no one would even meet me in WA because he was really about mining. This is, whatever it was, 13, 14 years ago. So I remember flying to Sydney and Melbourne a lot, and a lawyer patient of mine opened up all these doors. I remember chatting with these families, and what was unique about my experience in Melbourne and Sydney, everyone would give me time. They'd all coach me and help me. I remember going to these fancy boardrooms and being so like overwhelmed, but they would just sit down. Even they're like, well, business is a bit small, not really. The person we ended up going with challenged me. They said, I'll invest on 2 conditions. They said, one, at the time I was raising money to learn. I realized as the business grew, we opened, fast forward, we had 12 clinics or something like that. 8 to 12, I can't remember the precise number, but more than I could do. And I had they were all run by friends, like my closest mates. So I was really invested because I care about my mates, and I'm promising them I can do the business stuff. But really, at that size, you're over 100 staff. Like, or maybe I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I know slightly more than them because they're taking care of patients still and doing leadership stuff, but I'm like got no clue. And every week, me and Jess, who started taking on more of a support role on the corporate side or operations side, I wanted to call it corporate at the time, we're just like, we just need to find more and more help. And I tried it, realizing, I'm just out of my depth. So at that point, he challenged me to say, look, your imagination's too small. You just want to open more clinics. He's like, I'll invest if you increase your imagination. And obviously he knew how to wind me up because I was sort of like, what do you mean? My imagination is too small. He's like, you're just doing clinics, but you don't run clinics. You run healthcare businesses. And the problem you're solving, which is lots of little businesses need back-end help to grow and scale, that's true across the entirety of healthcare. And your vision's just too small. And I really like lit me up because I'm like, no one's ever accused me of not having enough ambition. And I just said to him, all right, fine, but I will do that plan as long as every area we go into helps my mates in some way. Like, because I didn't want to be in a situation where I was doing some random thing over here, but at the breach of my social contract with my mates to take care of their business back end. And the second promise he said he wanted me to make was, I guess, so that first one, increase your ambition. And the second part was, I guess, to rethink my role, which is running that and not treating patients, because that will come at the expense of that. And so I stopped treating patients. So, which made sense because this whole thing is you're better utilized helping them do a great job treating patients. So the business became basically a back end, a corporate structure for healthcare businesses. The hypothesis being we would own or start healthcare verticals that would help each other. The technical term for that is revenue synergies. And we would also save people money on the back end by sharing a lot of the services at a shared corporate structure. So businesses in our conglomerate, for lack of a better word, would get lower costs and more revenue. That was the hypothesis. And so we had clinics. We had that under management, I guess, as more of my mates took on more responsibility and leadership. We did healthcare to the home before NDIS and all that with a mate of ours. And then we did like hospital management, like doing physio services at the hospital, doing it through corporate contracts. Then we bought, because we couldn't start, it was too hard, a friend, he's now a friend, but an Oc Health business. And helped that grow, and he joined the company, which gave our clinics and our mates exposure to corporate contracts. So you just can't win if you're a little clinic. And then they also used that to launch a telehealth service. So we had lots of these divisions. So in the end, we then had one big company doing lots of different divisions and services that helped each other, and we sold that to HBF because they were getting into the game of running healthcare businesses, and I continued to oversee that for a period of time.
And how big did it get if it started at Ben running his North Perth clinic for $10,000 in a Holden Barina or whatever you were driving? How many clinics and staff? And because you were CEO when you exited,
CEO exited. So I think at our peak, it's hard to measure because we obviously lost, which I won't go into the complexities, but in the HBF ecosystem, they ended up selling off some of our divisions. But if I count it for my tenure there and include the divisions, call it a year after we sold off, it would be about, I don't know, 600 people, 600 people. Yeah. But I mean, I'm sure that my head of ops and HR there's not all FTEs and all that kind of stuff.
That's not the point. I'm not trying to make the point of how much you sell for or any of that. More so growth. Like you started with one staff member, which is you.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you were...
and it was incredible. I would say, very fortunate. And I think I will say at that time, after we count the pre-sale number as in, because HBF sold off, call it a third of the business. I'd say, a couple of hundred to be 400 at that time within that HBF. I don't know how big it is now. Obviously I haven't been there for a while, but it was an amazing experience. And to see that it really felt like a movement, a community, across the country, obviously. And, it was a wonderful thing to be part of.
That was just a little teaser of our full episode. They're out Wednesdays on YouTube, and you can listen to them wherever you get your podcast. Go on, get out of here.